Jones makes the catch, cuts it back to the 5.
Jackpot, baby. Touchdown, Raiders. That's what you want to see. Looks in the end zone. Throws deep corner. Jump ball. Touchdown. Carr. The Waller went up and got it. Yeah, baby. Jackpot, baby. Josh Jacobs.
Oh, get fired up. A new coach. Check. Josh McDaniels, new wide receiver, Davante Adams, an absolute game wrecker on the defensive side, and Chandler Jones, and they've always had their quarterback in Derek Carr. Things heading in the right direction in Vegas. James Palmer's got more from Henderson.
The Raiders with a short practice this morning, a little over an hour, but still a couple of big names not on the practice field. The first, Darren Waller, has now missed his second consecutive practice, but we did see him working out off to the side after practice. The Raiders are not overly concerned. Also with Chandler Jones, he was not out there. It's now 4 straight practices for him, but again, inside the building, speaking to people, it's not really overly concerning right now with Chandler Jones, as the rest of this team is preparing to leave tomorrow to play in the Hall of Fame game in Canton, Ohio, and head coach Josh McDaniels cannot be more excited about getting a chance to coach in this game. This game is taking place at about 4 minutes from where he grew up, and this is also an opportunity. They've only had the pads on a couple of times to see what they have in the trenches, specifically on that offensive line.
Oh, I got some playmakers on that squad. I know we've been talking a whole lot about this team and really the division. I feel like we're going to break this.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
That's
like,
not. What are we doing?
All right.
Through the roof.
Season predictions, you can see here.
This is a perfect segment for me.
Yeah, so here's what's going to happen. So 4,800 yards last year, and he didn't have a lot of his weapons. He lost his coach in the middle of the year. So let's start scrolling, okay? So how do you add to that? Okay, 48. Can we get to 52? All that is 20 more possessions, adding Davante Adams, and getting a better defense, right? You bring Chandler Jones in, right? We were right there. So let's say, I'm sorry, it doesn't go any higher. So let's say it goes to 5,200. Okay, he's going to throw over 5,200 yards. Just because of that, I think the defense is going to be better. I think they're going to get more possessions, and I think they'll get more production just because Davante Adams is out there. So, I mean, 48, that's what he had last year, and he barely had guys going.
It really does feel reasonable when you think about Adams and the pieces that they already have on their offense. And I would imagine a run game also kind of helps.
Well, it does, but also it's going to hurt Josh Jacobs. Because if Derek is throwing for more yards and Davante Adams is eating up more yardage, then, you know, Jacobs, not to mention, Kenyon Drake has come over.
A lot of backs.
They drafted Zaire White from Georgia. Okay. So I think about 740 yards for Jacobs. I think he'll still be the bell cow. He'll get the boatload of the carries. But I think that number comes down a little bit from last year simply because Davante Adams, man, you got to get that guy the ball.
Backfield, too, in that reason.
Since 2019, by the way, 5th in the NFL in rushing, just over 3,000 yards. All right, this is just fun.
Is it?
Yeah, keep
it
it
is fun. I feel like it. So Davante had like 1,500 yards last year. So there's Davante's numbers, okay? And then let's see, let's go 1,200, I think Waller had. So, and then Renfro had 1,000. I mean, so where are we going to stop?
That's 3,700.
So that's 3,700. So let's go give him 100 more yards. Just 100 more yards. Simple to get. Let's say they get to 3,800 yards between those 3 guys, which, based on what I saw this weekend, is very likely. They're going to throw the ball over the yard.
If that's, well, maybe Josh Jacobs.
Now, look, we have shined a light on the offenses in this division. I don't think we talk enough about some of the pieces on defense that are now in the AFC West, and this is a nice 1-2 punch here in terms of sacks.
I'll tell you what, Max Crosby is one of those guys that you have to like. When you see him play, it's infectious, the way he plays, the passion that he plays with, and then you bring over Chandler Jones, who is one of the best rushers in football. It's almost not fair to have these two on the same team, so I'm just going to keep on scrolling, even though they are the Raiders, and I really don't like them, but I'll keep on scrolling, and I'll say...
Honest man, LT.
22 and a half. You see what I did there? 22 and a half. Those two together.
Yeah, I mean, those guys are monsters. By the way, combined last year, 18 and a half sacks. Jones had 10 and a half, and Crosby with 8. Why not? Why not? You can come in, and well, you actually went to the highest, the peak when it comes to...
I did.
Derek's numbers. Meanwhile, Crosby here, look, LT saying, look, this guy is going to handle business. Hard to argue considering what he was able to do last season. Let's not forget Raiders, yes, the Jags in the Hall of Fame game Thursday night on NBC. Yes, we'll have the pregame coverage right here on NFL. Total access Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern time. We'll recap all of it following the game on NFL Network. I'm actually hosting that today. I'm actually pretty pumped for that. Meanwhile, Seahawks for the first time in a long time looking for an answer at quarterback. Geno and Drew. Who's got the best chance to win this job? David played the position. LT ridiculously familiar with Geno. Find out who think is their best answer.
The lack of film watching from Carr, I do think there are times, and David, you can get into it a little bit more, that if he watched a little bit more film, you know, what he saw out there, it will confirm what he's seen in the film room, you know, when he's studying. So all those things go hand in hand. And, you know, at the end of the day, I believe those are the reasons why they haven't performed as they should in the late in the season.
You're absolutely right, LT. And I think I'll add this. For 5 days, he could watch film. There's plenty of time to do that. So study up, buddy. But in reality, why do they struggle? It's exactly what you said. You come out with a system and you have a plan, and it catches everybody off guard. As an offensive system, you have the advantage early, because they don't really know what you're going to do. They don't know what you've been tinkering with, what your system, what your formations look like. So for like 3 or 4 weeks, you can jump out. You can get out on guys before that film comes in. And now people start studying. They develop a game plan. They start to hone it in. And you see the Cardinals have fallen off a cliff. They've just kind of, literally, Cliff Kingsbury, like he's doing his work. And I agree with you. It is on him. But it also lays on the quarterback because, like you mentioned, a lot of what you do at quarterback is anticipatory. You have to anticipate what they're going to do based on the look that you see. And when you listen to Tom Brady talk, just like he did this offseason, I've mentioned this before last week on the show, Tom Brady knows where he's going to throw the football before the snap 80% of the time. He already knows where he's going with the football based on the deployment of the defense, and Kyler can take a page out of his book. He's tremendously talented, and they have a ton of weapons and a great offense, and a lot of times he just relies on his ability to make plays. You know, he sees it. Yeah,
he's always done.
And he's been successful. You saw him in Texas, right? Fantastic high school quarterback. College, same thing, Heisman Trophy. He's had success here at that ability, right, of just saying, you know what, I'm going to make it happen. I'm going to move around. I'm going to buy time. But if you can get to the level where you can anticipate, find easy completions, because like you said, when I watch film, I see a lot of times he passes up the first guy. It's not necessarily because he doesn't want to throw it to him. It's because it didn't register fast enough, because a lot of those times when you have the first guy initially open, that's something you have to know before the snap is happening. You have to, like, precog that, right? You have to, I know that's going to be there. I'm going to take it. And he's hesitant to do that a lot of times probably because he can make the big play. And I think because he hasn't studied enough to know where that easy completion is going to be.
Another thing, Mike, really quickly, film watching at the complex is not enough, because keep in mind, you're typically watching film with a group of people. And so you're going through individual assignments, not necessarily when you're on your own. When I was on my own, like on a Friday night, getting ready for a game, there were things that I caught looking at film away from the complex, because it would confirm what I seen at the complex, but then you would catch more things that the defense was doing, a particular player might be doing, he might be cheating to one side on particular plays. Those are the things that you catch, and like David said, it confirms on the field so you can play faster.
Is the best analogy like going to school? Because most of us didn't play in the NFL. You go to school, you get the lesson, you go home, and then maybe you confirm some of the things. And
it's almost like when you start to read the question, you know the answer before it happens. Like when you have that feeling in a test, it's the same thing at quarterback. You see that look, you know what you have, you're like, I know where the answer is right away.
I wish that happened more for me when I was in school. I feel like I had to go through the question multiple times before I knew the answer. Yeah, what was the answer to that again? All right, the Cowboys, they got to feel confident heading into the season. LT had his eyes on the running backs in camp this week.